Welcome back to Filibusters with Donna and John. Well, District 4 is quite a race. We said there was 5 people in it. We just spoke with one. Who do we have in the studio now, Donna?
Today we have the pleasure of our second guest who's in the District 4 race, which is quite crowded with 5 people. You are number 2 to come talk with us, and this is Joe Zimmerman. You are the proprietor of Busy Farms, is that correct?
Well, no, I refer to myself as the finance and marketing director.
Oh.
Yes, because Busy Farms is owned by my parents, Bill and Peggy Zimmerman. And then when Dad needs me to, he says, get on a tractor when I tell you to and do what I need you to do. So I get to call myself something very fancy, but it doesn't mean anything.
I do that all the time, so that's all right.
There you go. See?
See, I like that.
Yeah.
So obviously we just said that we're talking about the District 4 race. And so why, Joe, are you hopping into that race and presenting yourself as a candidate?
You know, for me, it really comes down to if you will, a feeling of ownership for within the county. Without meaning to disparage anyone who's been on the council, I've just found that very irritating and frustrating that we have a lot of folks that, have come here recently and have very little history within the county, and they're trying to change our laws and make it exactly how they want it to be, or how the town was where they came from, or what their perfect utopia thoughts are. I'm a person that I have, I'm a fifth generation farmer as a Zimmerman. The Zimmermans have been here for 5 generations. My grandmother's side of the family, I am 6th generation in Clark County. I found out recently that my grandmother's family came from the Joseph Goddard family, who came here in 1852 on the Oregon Trail. He was one of the first commissioners within the county and one of the first legislators to not Washington State, the Washington Territory. And in fact, although I haven't been able to completely prove this or definitively prove this, I was born here in 1975. And at that time, like everybody, I have 4 grandparents and 4 families from which I am descended, okay? 3 of those families had lived in Clark County for 100 years before I was born here. So, is it emotional? Yeah. It really is, for me, it's an emotional attachment to this county. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I'm frustrated with the leadership that we've had, that it seemed as though they wanted their outcome for the county without viewing the best outcome for the entire county, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does, because one of the things that we've talked about with other candidates and that is things like the Chalachi Prairie Railroad or the Interstate Bridge, things like that, which are very important to people that have lived here for quite some time, and for people that are new to the area.
Of course.
So, what issues do you feel are most important for Clark County that you would like to address?
I've really had to put these issues into a package, if you will. So of course, as you meet people, hey, what do you believe in? Okay, for me, please don't think, and I've had to say this a lot, don't think this is not a 1, 2, 3 issue. For me, it's a 1A, 1B, 1C. These are all my 1 issues. They just they're all at the top. For me, it comes down to what I'm calling intelligent development. Okay, the idea that the county is saying that in the next 20 years we're going to add 200,000 people. Where are we going to put them? And my 1B issue is preservation of ag land, open space, and animal habitat. And if we're going to put 200,000 people across the county, what's going to happen to all the ag land when we do that? And then the third issue, or the 1C issue, I should say, is to make Clark County a food-producing county. Most of us who know my family, who know our farm, Busy Farms out in Brush Prairie, know that we are quite successful at growing fresh fruits and vegetables. And let's just say, I find it frustrating as a productive farmer to see the ag land sitting idle, not being actively used and efficiently used to produce food for the people in Clark County. People in Clark County, I feel, are begging for fresh local food production, and I feel that a lot of folks are not on board with the concept of, hey, we've got an open and willing market. Let's produce food for them. How about that?
So how do we balance those things? Because what you're talking about is conservation and intelligent development. So what does intelligent development and agricultural production, how do those things go together?
I've talked with several folks that about the fact that, there's an assumption. If you're a farmer, you only want houses that are out in the rural areas. Well, that's great until we run out of our rural areas. The reality is actually there's myself and quite a few like myself. We actually want to see urban density. Please understand, I'm telling folks just from the bottom of my heart, I probably won't be living in one of those houses. I just don't have a desire to live in a condo in downtown Vancouver. But we need to see the density. The density is what is going to preserve the ag land. It's also going to, fulfill many requirements that many folks are looking for. Things like, walkable communities and density where you see reliance on public transportation, which don't even get me started. I never rode public transportation growing up. I lived in brush prairie. So, yeah, I feel that these are not issues that are going to be hard to put together. It just may not look like the Clark County of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s when we were just, building, developing at a rapid pace, especially the suburban dwellings and all of the 5-acre parcels out in the rural areas. Yeah.
Well, let's just call facts here. I find it hard to get off my couch to mow my 10 by 10 front yard. I don't want to be having to mow no 2-acre area on a riding lawn. It just sounds like work to me. So I'll leave that to the folks that want to do that. But the reality is that there are these differences in the community, and recognizing that is important. Speaking of which, one of the other questions that we asked previously was about participation from the community in the council meetings. What are your thoughts about how to get that to happen more? Because it seems like that's kind of fallen by the wayside with how the council has currently been doing things.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few issues with the council, and I will admit that it's very frustrating to hear that they may have changed some of their rules to, I don't want to say curtail public engagement, but to definitely not, let's put it this way, definitely not encourage it. Let's put it that way. And I guess to me that is just a mandatory part of all democratic governance is you've got to have public inclusion there. And so to me, it's a necessity that we need to get. And I don't want to say just get back to it, because I don't even know that the original format was best. But a format where everyone feels that their input is being heard. Everyone feels that they have access to the county council, if you will, when input is needed, that they feel that their voice is heard, understood, and what I want to say, heard, understood, and interpreted, and taken as what I want to say. Yeah, take it seriously. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So another thing too is that just recently, here in the last couple of years, was it 2020, 2022, the county voted to make all of the county level positions nonpartisan.
Right.
And some people think that's a good thing. Some people may argue against that. But how do you see yourself as a candidate running in a nonpartisan race and working with folks across the county?
Honestly, I love it. I love it. I do. Okay. in all honesty, and I've told this among my friends that swing heavy on the Democratic side, my friends who swing heavy on the Republican side, folks, I am a center of centrist with about a 3-degree list to the right. That's it. I'm a born again Christian kid that was born and raised on a farm, spent 6 years in the Marine Corps, and I list, like I said, just ever so slightly. That's me. I am right down the center. I am the guy that I'm very, just so you guys know, I'm very active in Washington State Farm Bureau, and I find that they think that I am just the weirdest guy in the room because I can walk into a room full of the most left-leaning Democrats, and I walk in, hi guys, how are you doing? My name's Joe. How are you today? How can I help you? Walk into a group of, MAGA hat wearing Republicans. Hi guys, how you doing? My name's Joe. It's great to meet you. How can I help you? To me, every voice, every person, every political political ideology, everybody on every spectrum of the sexual orientation groups, everything like this, folks. Every one of them is a human being. We all bleed red. We are all humans. We all want to be heard. We all want to be understood, and all of us are. I think this is where the political parties, I think, forget that all of us have the right to feel that our beliefs are right. I think there's folks on, let's just say, the far right who believe that the folks on the far left, they're just wrong. Well, you know what? You can feel that they're wrong, but they have the right to feel the way they do. And same thing vice versa. The people on the far left, they can feel that, those folks on the far right, they are as wrong could be. But you know what? They have the right to feel that way because it's America and we can do that. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to come together in the center, and that's where I stand. At least I there's days where I feel real lonely standing where I do, but I'm going, folks, I'm right here in the middle. I'll meet you guys right here in the middle, and here's where I stand. And I think that that's where America, is truly the strongest. Yeah.
So how does that work in terms of regulation? Because that's one of the things, a county councilor, like land use regulation and conservation, those are some of the key issues. So what are your thoughts about that?
I got to tell you, that's where I see things can get really dicey. Okay. I'll give you a great example. I have a friend who I love him dearly as a friend. I'm thinking of him, thinking good thoughts about him right now, but I'll keep. I won't mention his name. But he's a gentleman who has said many times, this was concerning development setbacks from streams and stuff. Best available science. Okay, best available science. That's what we have to go with. Have to. Okay. I got to tell you guys a quick analogy. We had on our farm, we are big believers in winter cover crops. That is, planting a crop in the ground to preserve the soil with the idea that it's just sacrificial. We'll kill it in the spring and then plant into it. No big deal. A gentleman came to us and said, hey, just curious, how much do you spend dollar-wise on your cover crop? $20, $30, whatever. He goes, that's funny. I spent $185 an acre on this cover crop seed because so-and-so recommended it. We said, you said best, didn't you? He goes, well, of course I said best. What's the best cover crop? And I said, that's the difference. Best is best. One of the things that I find is, and to be fair, or I just want to make sure that we're clear here, I consider, as a farmer specifically, I consider myself a conservationist, okay? But the thing that we have to remember is we need to, or at least in my mind, we need to progress to conservation, okay? So many individuals, they really see this as, no, we need to snap our fingers and immediately, go to, shall we say, best. Again, this is that argument, best available science. We need to go from here to there instantly. And I'm like, can we have stations in between? Can we do this incrementally? Can we do this without, without landowners or business owners or other individuals getting, hurt. And I'm using my air quotes here, by the way, hurt
On
as
radio.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah. Air quotes on radio. Yes. But get them hurt as in like undue expense to them. And that's where a lot of individuals, they don't see things like, geez, do you realize this is going to cost my business X amount? And they're like, don't care. I just want to see it. And so, yes, I got to tell you, conservation is going to be a very tough issue because, like I said, the idea of just snapping your fingers and we're there just doesn't work all the time. We need to have those incremental steps. However, am I all for those incremental steps? You dang right I am. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that was awesome, and I appreciate you kind of giving us a little bit of background on that. But more importantly, can you tell our listeners how they can find out more about you, where they can find out more about you?
Yes. So my main outlook right now has actually been Facebook. It's, I hate to say it, it's quick, cheap, and easy. I love Facebook that way. Elect Joe Zimmerman on Facebook. If you just Google that or search for that, I'm sure you'll find it. I do have a website that is terribly sparse, but I'm working on it because I'm doing it. I got to admit, I'm doing most of the website myself. electjoez.com is my website. If you go there, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to be putting a few more pages up about my issues and my background, my story, and why I would love to have the opportunity to represent Clark County.
Well, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, obviously we're still early on in the process, so a lot of candidates are still out there getting their things up and going and everything. But definitely thank you for coming into the studio here with us. And Donna?
Thanks, Joe. I'm a long-term Clark County person too, so
Wonderful.
Not quite as long, but that's another story for another time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, you're listening to Filibusters with Donna and John. We just had in Joe Zimmerman, who's running for county council. That's Clark County Council, District 4, and we'll be right back.